This is a tarot reading for the Chinese New Year, for the entire year of the dragon, which starts on February the 10th. Now, it's the lunar New Year, so it isn't exactly a year, but it lasts around a year. And February the 10th is quite late, so the date shifts every year. But it's somewhere around the end of January, beginning of February always. If you're unsure of what Chinese zodiac sign you are, if you look in my notes, there's a crib there which lets you know. And it's based on the year that you were born, rather than the month that you were born in. But if you're born at the end of the year, it's a little bit more complicated, and you'd need to look it up. So this is a reading for the entire year of the dragon, but for the sign of the monkey. Monkeys, I've just done a very depressing reading for the sign of the goat. So I'm so relieved to see your reading. It looks full of hope, if you ask me. I'm drawn to that middle card, the world card. These are major changes in your life, and with it should come good fortune. Now, we went through a major change last year, but I'm sure this is another one coming up for you. And I've been getting this quite a lot. Despite there being major changes, there's more change coming about. In the recent past, there were many opportunities for you, but not all were what they seemed. Now, I've no indication, no real indication that any of them go wrong, but I think maybe some of them are poison chalices, and maybe you did pick a poison chalice. Hopefully you chose more than one and it doesn't really matter. But one of the reasons I say that, and I've got two reasons for saying it, but one of the reasons I say that is we now have the Temperance card, and the change from last year is a change towards a more temperate lifestyle, taking things much more in moderation, taking a middle path, understanding others, etc. In the long term, we have the King of Swords. Now, he's a wise king, and it's almost as though this other change is about consolidating what you've learned and hopefully moving on as a result, and that would give you wisdom. The other card that makes me think that maybe you did get taken a bit by a poison chalice is we have the Justice card. Now, there's no doubt that there's justice coming for those who've cheated, manipulated, lied in the past. But I'm thinking this is probably more personal. This is more personal to you. Maybe you did pick a poison chalice and those responsible are going to get their comeuppance. And that leads to the outcome. What would change the outcome is teamwork. So yes, maybe I do understand that. Because the outcome is the King of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles, very determined knight. You can rely on him to get the job done, but painfully slow. So if you could work as a team, maybe it would be quicker, maybe that's all there is to it. But it looks interesting. So stick around with me as we unpack what these energies really mean. Now, dominating this reading is the energy of the World card, and that runs throughout all the other energies. Great card to have in this position. It's a card of major change, but it should bring with it luck. And if you do change with it, it's because you've learned your lessons from the last major change. And we had one last year, all of us did. So this is suggesting it's another major change in your life, and I do see it as very positive indeed. And I think you have made the adjustments from the last change. And I'm seeing this, multiple changes across many signs, whether it be Western zodiac or the Chinese zodiac, that we're in a time of I don't know about calling it perpetual change, because that suggests it'll never end, but we are in a time of massive shifts in our consciousness and psychology. And I do think it's a wonderful thing, particularly if we're accepting the change and adapting to it. So monkeys, I see this as a very, very positive card, particularly to have in this position. Now, one of the shifts that's occurred is we've shifted away from manipulation and deception. That's not to say that it's not still going on, but there is karmic justice going on right now, and it will increase against those who've been greedy, been using deception, been silencing others, been lying, etc., etc., etc. And maybe you have fallen foul of some of this deception. Maybe it was simply that you were offered a number of opportunities, and some were good and some not good. And I think you did at least take one that might be described as a poison chalice. Hopefully you took more than one and it doesn't really matter to you. But I think what runs throughout this reading is that there is justice coming for that. And I think also, as a result, you've sort of learnt a lesson. Maybe you yourself realise that your motivation for going for that particular option was not from a good place. But I don't think you've much to worry about. You've probably lost out already. And I think one of the reasons why there's this other major change coming for you monkeys is that you have learnt the lessons of the past change. You've adopted a more temperate lifestyle. Now that could be about temperance, it could be giving up alcohol, narcotics, smoking, what have you, clubbing or whatever, it might be that. But I think it's more likely that you're much more compassionate, trying to see the other side, trying to take the middle ground, and not rising to the provocations that are all around us. We live in a society now of fear porn, whereby we're being encouraged to get into tribes and hate the opposing tribes. We've got the war in Palestine going on, and it's so difficult not to be forced into sides over it. And, whatever is going on, there are powerful interests behind it. And we're not being told the full story. And it's so difficult not to take sides, when really the side we should be taking is the side of humanity. And I think you're doing that. Now I do actually think that you come out of this year having learnt the lessons of this new cycle as well. Probably after this year, but we have the energy of the King of Swords. A very wise king. Now his wisdom is based not solely on, book reading and intelligence, but also from experience. And I think this year is about you experiencing more, to understand even more of what's going on and what's happening. And you will emerge from it, much stronger as a result. And I think you will grasp so much that's going on in the world, so much about your own life and maybe your mission on Earth. So I think it's very encouraging indeed, monkeys. Now, the energy that leads to the outcome, and I do see the outcome as a good outcome, is the energy of justice. Now, this is justice rather than judgment. So it isn't normally associated with karmic events, but I think it is. I think this is the justice I've been talking about that's coming against those who've lied, cheated, manipulated. And I think, if I'm right about the poison chalice, this is justice coming in your favour from it. Particularly because your response has been temperate. You've tried to understand it. You've tried to forgive. And therefore, this is a little blessing for you. That's certainly how I see it. And it probably will be physical justice. It might even be a court case that goes in your favour. But certainly something like that. Now, as I say, I do believe the outcome to be a good outcome. However, what would change it is the energy of teamwork. Working with others to achieve a goal. And so I can understand this. I don't think it changes your trajectory that much. I think what it actually does is it speeds things up. So if you're trying to achieve something, then I think this is saying, well, if you do it with others, you'll achieve it even quicker. That's what I read into it. So, if you don't follow it, I don't think it's critical. But if you do, it'll just speed things up for you, which probably is no bad thing. The outcome is the Knight of Pentacles. He's a highly dependable knight. He's going to get the job done. He's somebody that you can really trust. But he moves painfully slowly. So justice, this is you, I think, getting maybe even recompense for what I see as your loss in the past. Gives you a determination, maybe just to keep on going, or maybe simply to do new things. But it's sort of one foot in front of the other. It's painfully slowly, which is why I say if you worked in a team, maybe you could achieve it a lot quicker. So I think I've got the measure of what this is all about, but I am going to take some cards of clarity just to see if I can expand on it a little bit more for you before I conclude. Yeah, I'm going to get some clarity on this Justice card, and the first card we have is the Hanged Man. Normally I see this as you hanging around waiting to see the lie of the land, but maybe if I'm right about this poison chalice, it has kept, you've been unable to act. Maybe you've lost money, so much money that you can't do what you'd like to do. Maybe, I don't know. The next card is the Star card, a card of hope, a card of rebirth. Well, I'm sure that that's what you've gone through. And as if to reiterate that this is all about this change, we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is, I think it's just confirmation of the of the World card, saying it's connected to these major changes. It could be a minor change within a bigger change, but I think it's because I've only used one deck for the confirmation as well. So I think it's just relating us back to the World card. So yeah, this first card of clarity is the Hanged Man. Now, you might, and it's an entirely reasonable thing to do, be hanging around to see the lie of the land before you do things. Just weighing up your options, looking at what's really happening in the world, and that's entirely reasonable. But I can't help but feeling that maybe I'm right about a poison chalice, and this poison chalice has effectively stymied you. Maybe it's taken your money, maybe it's taken your ability to do things. And so it's something of an enforced hanging around. And of course it's clarifying the justice card. So, maybe you've even been tied up in a court case and therefore you haven't had time to do anything else. So it feels like your life's been on hold. Next card is the Star card. It's a card of hope and rebirth, and I think you've got both. I think you have been reborn as a result of the last change, and you're accepting this latest change, this latest rebirth for you. And you're full of hope, and I think this Justice card is your reward for you having accepted these changes, for this more temperate lifestyle that you've chosen. Yeah, I think the justice is this. So even though, it's not necessarily associated with karmic justice, I think it is karmic at its very root. So it's something of a blessing for you, I think. I really do. Now, as I say, I've only used one deck to do this reading, so the cards of clarification are from the same deck, so there couldn't be two world cards, so it's given us the Wheel of Fortune, which I think if I'd got another deck it would have given us the world card, but I might be wrong. But I mean, it's very similar energy. It should bring good luck. It's about change, and so what I'm thinking is this justice is about this major change. So I've been saying that those responsible for the greed, for the manipulation, for the lies, for the censorship, there is karmic justice coming for them. Well, this is actual justice here. So I suspect it's just at a more personal level for you, but it is all caught up in these changes within the universe that I can feel so very strongly. So we can summarise for you, monkeys. I think this is a lovely reading. I think in the past there were many opportunities for you, and not all were what they seemed. I think one was a poison chalice. Were you betrayed? Maybe. I'm not sure. But I think that the world has changed, and that sort of behaviour is going to get a karmic response. That you yourself just need to be understanding, non-judgmental, take a middle ground and be forgiving, because of the universe, God, Allah will provide for you. You don't have to worry. And indeed, justice rather than judgment. So justice, not necessarily karmic, it could be a court case, is coming, and I think it is related to what I perceive as a potential deception that occurred, and it will go in your favour. It'll go in your favour because you've made the necessary adjustments, you've kept faith, and you understand that it's all about the changes that are going on in the world. And as a result of this, I think it frees you up to once again get on a sort of a path that you're on, with a quiet determination, and you will succeed, but you're moving very slowly. You're determined, but you're moving very slowly. And what would speed it up is working with others. Now, I don't see it as a bad thing anyway, But all I'm saying is if you worked with others, then maybe you'd get there quicker. In the future, I think you're going to end up so wise from all this experience. You're going to realise maybe that the world isn't what it seems, and how your own happiness, your own determination can indeed create a better world. So I do think it's a beautiful reading, really, monkeys. You seem to have learned what the universe has sent for you to learn. I really do. So, well, I can't see any suggestion you will give up. But stay determined, stay hopeful throughout this year, and things will end up quite well for you.